Good evening, guys. Good evening. How are you all? I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all had a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. And I hope you're all looking forward to a wonderful week ahead. Tonight I thought I would try and get a couple of videos smashed out after I finished work. It's around 12 p.m. and I am feeling quite relaxed, quite ready for bed, but also quite keen to do some videos, so we'll see how we go. I wanted to do something that I didn't have to think too much about. Apologies. Also, please forgive this. I tried to pop a pimple on my lip and I should have left it alone. And now I'm paying the price. I'll switch that off. So, I've grabbed a couple of... Sorry, I'm just gonna put the armrest down again. I always realise too late that they are noisy. But yeah, so I grabbed a couple of our, I think you call them coffee table books or something like that, but basically like picture books that you would put on your coffee table for people to peruse if they come over. Think of like Nat Geo magazines and like the trashy people magazines at your doctor's offices and stuff like that, but make it a little less brain rot, I guess. I think they're called coffee table books. Like, I genuinely think they are, but I could be wrong. So I grabbed just a couple that I have and I was just gonna tap on them, talk about them and show you some of the contents. So yeah, let's get into it. This one doesn't have a very interesting like cover, I would say, but the actual contents of it are pretty interesting, I think, and just really fun to look at. So I think this is a like astrology book. Astrology. It's called The New Challenge of the Stars by Patrick Moore and David Hardy. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks like. That might have been too loud, I do apologize. I really like just flipping through this book because I think the artwork's really cool. I might have to switch the light off so you can see properly. Give me a second. I don't think that's better. Alright, we'll just have to deal with the glare, but I'll try to angle it better, I guess. So I those all pretty cool. The asteroid arc. I think what I'll do is I will show you a bit of these books like this, and then maybe after I've done, I'll put the camera down and go through it a little better. But like, how cool is that? Kind of reminds me of the Petrova line from Project Hail Mary. If I haven't spoken enough about that movie slash book and all of the content that has come out of it, I couldn't recommend it enough. And I think you should go watch the movie. I think you should read the book. I think you should listen to the audiobook. Yeah, I think you should consume this media in any way, shape or form that you can, if I'm being honest. Anyway, the next coffee table book is I don't have nails, I'm so sorry, but this is basically a book about plants and all the information and yeah, like a guide to care for them. And I just think it's a really cool book to flip through. It's got really cool photos of the plants and then breakdown of what kind of plant they are, what kind of care they need. And I think that's really handy. I'll try and find you one of my favorites. So this is the Devil's Ivy. I would probably butcher the scientific name for it, but I'll try anyway. A Aprepramin aureum. Aprepramin aureum. That doesn't sound right, guys, I won't lie. Oh, look at that. A begonia. That was probably very abrasive. I apologize. So that's a begonia plant. A begonia was named after the 17th century French naturalist and passionate plant collector Michel Bigon. My bad, Bigon. I'm not wearing my glasses. I'm so sorry. The begonia are a fantastically diverse collection of plants appreciated for their sweet flowers and fabulous foliage. The leaves encompass a varied spectrum of shapes, textures, edging and colours, with some forming spirals that resemble snail shells, while others have distinct painted markings or are velvety to touch. Their blooms are equally diverse, from single pendulous blossoms to clusters of antique rose-like flowers. Categorizing begonias can be a little tricky and convoluted, but they can generally be divided into the following groups. Jesus. I'm gonna once again try to say these, but if I butchered it, tuberous, wax, and rex begonias. It's pretty cool. And then it goes down to like break down what each of those are. But I just think the book's really cool, and it's got a lot of information on so many different plants. I feel like you can't go wrong with a book that has cool pictures and then also some information, you know. One of my favourite plants is a variegated monstera. They are gorgeous, but very hard to come by. And people sell cuttings of them for like hundreds of dollars. I'm hoping to find one at a plant shop. But yeah, so that is the Plantopedia. Once again, I'll try to flip through these a little more, but we'll see how I go. Okay, the next one is my Banksy book. So Banksy is an anonymous artist who goes around and puts up pieces of art that are, I would say, pretty thought-provoking and usually have some sort of social commentary aligned with it, or just it's directly talking about social commentary or making a comment, I guess. I do think Banksy as an artist is pretty cool. I love the concepts. I agree with a lot of the the social commentary that they put out. And then some of it's just random and awesome to look at. There's a lot of really interesting ones. Like, this is quite clearly social commentary, where it's a bunch of pigeons all up with like picket signs saying something to this colourful parrot. So these pigeons are all like black and grey and white. The pigeon, or I guess the other bird, is in colour. And the pigeons are saying, migrants not welcome, go back to Africa and keep off our worms. Which obviously is social commentary for, bigotry and segregation and not having a very welcoming attitude to people coming to your country. This one I thought was quite funny. I like the keep Britain tidy, but his like artwork is vandalizing a wall. Technically, like I'm all for it, but in the grand scheme of things, the way society looks at it, that's vandalizing, and not what people would call keeping Britain tidy. Just some more pieces that have been put up. Yeah, it's just like a pretty big collection of some stuff is probably not that thought-provoking, but then other things are. If you were to sit down and really think about it, you could probably pull a lot from it, which I think that's worth a lot, and why art is probably so important. On the other side of things, I also do believe that the 1% and billionaires use art to, move money around, and without, I guess, paying taxes and that kind of stuff. But that's for another video, and probably more of a conspiracy theory video than anything. I actually really enjoy a good conspiracy theory, so maybe I'll do a video on some of the wilder ones that I won't necessarily say I've believed, but that I've enjoyed hearing. I don't know if this is necessarily a conspiracy theory as of right now, but the Florida man, I don't know if he was actually from Florida, but pretty sure it was a man from America who was taken underwater by a dolphin named Gerald and made to help the dolphin society finish their laborious civilization. That was a real interesting one. But yeah, so maybe I'll do a video on some of the fun, wacky things I've heard, and given the time of day. Big fan of this one. That says, crime against property is not real crime. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about that one. If it's not already been pretty clear, I've got a pretty anti-capitalistic view on things. I understand the role that capitalism plays in our society, and money kind of dictates a lot of the choices we have to make and all that kind of jazz, but I certainly do not believe in people being billionaires. I'll say that. I don't think you can be an ethical billionaire, and I also think that you could be doing a lot more for your communities with that money. So I'm all for taxing the rich and the wealthy, and when I say the rich and the wealthy, I don't mean the people who are making, still a high amount of money, but millions a year. Okay, that's a lot, but fair tax for you. I'm talking about the billionaires, the 1%, the people who own more super yachts, apartment buildings, investment companies, oil companies, and anything that you can think of than we'll ever know in our lifetime. Those are the type of people who I think need to be reined in a little bit. That money's evil. But, okay, enough of that rant. I blame Banksy. Okay, last but not least is potentially my favourite one. And I say potentially my favourite one because there is so much to this book that I've not even read all of it, but it's incredible, and I really go back to it whenever I'm feeling a little bit like I'm missing camping and missing being out in nature. It's a fun one to go through. This one is Homecamp, or just Homecamp, sorry. Homecamp. Oh, that might be too loud. My apologies. This book is made by Doran and Stephanie Francis, who I'm pretty sure have just made this book from their experiences camping throughout Australia and the rest of the world, I'm pretty sure. So, just the first photo is just someone's legs in a camp chair around a camping setup, I would say. correctly once you've, collected the litter, but it is insanely helpful. And I don't think people realise just how much of an impact they can have by just them doing small little things like that. So yeah. The task of searching for rubbish pulled our minds into the present, distracting us from the real world just for those few hours. So maybe even a form of mindfulness. So yeah, we get into some of the photos of the places they've stayed at and visited. Sorry, this book's hella creaky. So I just think it's beautiful, and I would love to do something like this where, we just travel around the world and get to really take our time with exploring everything and doing, experiencing the local culture and not necessarily the tourism side of things, but what people during their everyday life would do and what the things are to explore and enjoy there. I'm a big fan of that. I get pretty overwhelmed and anxious with big tourist hotspots and stuff like that, so you usually won't find me in the middle of that kind of stuff. This is just a beautiful photo of a solo tent in the middle of nowhere, but the stars, man. You can't tell me that's not like just a new realm of peace and serenity. Nature finds a way to make you question what really matters. And look, I actually have to agree with that. I can't, I guess, emphasize enough how much touching some grass and immersing yourself in some nature actually helps with mental health. I'm not going to say it fixes everything. It's certainly used in conjunction with other things, whether or not that's medication or therapy or just changing a lifestyle a little bit. It helps with other things, of course, but I would say it is a massive one because there are so many different aspects to just exploring nature that I think we don't really even think about. Like, there's the opportunity to explore all of our different senses and have them maybe even be overwhelmed, which is sometimes a good thing if you're stuck in your head. It's a good way of grounding yourself, of pulling yourself out of your head, pulling yourself down a little bit. So yeah, couldn't recommend that enough for people who maybe struggle with their mental health or getting on top of their mental health. Like I said, it's not it's not a one size fits all. It's not going to fix everything, and I'm no medical professional, so don't be taking this advice as gospel, but just from my experience and the experience of the loved ones and my friends and family around me who have who have experienced mental health issues and difficulties, and yeah, seeing what helps them and what doesn't. A lot of the time, getting outside and getting into nature a little bit has helped. To what extent, that differs, but it does help. So that's like a drone photo of a sandbar, and I think either a river or an ocean with a coast. Oh, sorry, that bottom one is a different photo to the top. So sandbar, drone photo, also a drone photo, but of a different coastline. This is capturing the beauty of a damaged world. So I guess taking photos of the kind of devastating effects that some places maybe experience when it comes to their ecosystem. this bad boy's being hella creaky, so I'm just gonna tap on it and end this video here probably. One last thing, it says on the back here, adventure is an attitude, and I really like that. This book might actually be a pretty good book to get for people who maybe want to get outside more but don't know where to start, don't really know, what to do or think about. Sometimes it's as easy as getting in your car and driving to a spot that has a hiking trail, Sometimes it's not that easy though, so for people who maybe need some inspiration or something to read that might help them or inspire them to get out and explore a bit more, I could definitely recommend this book. And once again, it makes a good coffee table book. Alrighty guys, I'll just put that down and say goodbye. So I can't thank you guys enough for watching and for engaging. I really appreciate it, and it's really nice to be a part of this community. I've watched ASMR for over like 15 or 16 years now. Like before I think it was even classed as ASMR, which is wild. But yeah, so it's lovely to be a part of the community and to be, giving back to a community that has helped me so very much. I can't even count how many times I've relied on ASMR to put me to sleep, because it would literally be every day for the last 15 years. But yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate your support. Yeah, so much. So much. Yeah, hope you all have a lovely evening, morning, day, night, whenever you're watching this. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next